Hello and welcome to the show of the British Objectivist Society. Objectivism is the name given by the Russian-born American novelist and philosopher Ayn Rand to her own unique philosophical system. This philosophy is based on the metaphysics of objective reality, the epistemology of reason, the ethics of self-interest, and the politics of individual freedom, what is more commonly referred to as capitalism. And we are here to bring voice to anyone who seeks to push back against the erosion of individual freedom and rationality in our society. We seek to defend free thinking, free speech, free expression, and free action, whilst respecting the same liberties in other people. And equally importantly, we defend the philosophical underpinnings of true liberty that were most eloquently expressed in the original works of Ayn Rand. Now, my guest today is Mr. Richard G. Brooke, longtime objectivist and writer, whose debut novel, Green with Envy, explores the very serious issue of green politics, of environmentalism, and the non-objective and deeply irrational alarmism that has taken hold across virtually all of the world's governments and dominates discourse at so many levels, but is damaging human flourishing by limiting our ability to produce the power required to run our technological civilization, and consequently to produce and to distribute the food, the water, the medicines, and all the other goods and services by which we humans flourish. Now, Mr. Brooke's novel is deeply prescient, and we now see some of these ideas that he dramatizes playing out around the world, in which energy has now become unaffordable to many millions of people, primarily because of the political and cultural antithesis to the world's main energy source, the fossil fuels, on the grounds that the carbon dioxide released to the atmosphere by their combustion is changing the climate in dangerous, life-threatening ways. A claim that does not stand up, despite what we are constantly told, to any serious objective scrutiny. Now, this novel is a gripping, plot-driven story. It barrels along from beginning to end. We see the world drenched in postmodern, reality-denying alarmism, expressed in brilliantly clear essentials. And we eventually arrive at a rather unexpected ending, which I'm not going to give away. Now, Richard, is that a fair overview? And please tell us why people should read your book.
Thank you very much, Adam. Yes, you've touched on all the main elements, I would say. And just to repeat, it is a novel and not a non-fiction book. So I don't go in the book into huge amount about the science. What it's really trying to show people is what actually plays out in reality. You take these ideas, which are primarily philosophical, I would say they are pseudo-scientific ideas, not real ones, and then you apply them to real life, and what happens? So in the book, for example, only the rich people can afford to drive. I drove a long way all the way here today. It would have been completely impossible to do a 2-hour drive in my book, and in the near future, in this country, not only with the price of fuel, but also the banning of petrol vehicles, you can see how that would play out. The book goes a bit further, and it talks about people ending up having to use horses, for example, for transport. I won't give it all away, but the idea is to explain what could happen.
So the whole thing is very, very much up to date then. It's very much a thing of today.
Yeah, sadly, I meant it as a warning. I've started it seriously in about 2014, but some of the things have come to pass. So the online harms bill, which is a great attack on freedom of speech, is in the novel. And the energy crisis is also in the novel. And here we are. We're in it now in 2022.
So would you categorise this as a dystopian novel?
In the biggest picture, no, because it does start in a very dark place. And the characters have to go through a lot of worse economic conditions than we currently have, but they are logically following on from green policies taken seriously. But finally, by the end of the story, they understand, some of the characters, what they need to do to fix their lives, and the reason is given in the fundamentals behind Ecoism.
Right. So could you give us an idea of some of the characters? Tell us about the characters in the novel.
Yes, it's really based around one family. There is a father figure who is also a businessman. He is an IT entrepreneur, and his business is going to the wall because he can't afford the energy, and neither can his customers. Not only that, regulation is restricting all the things that he can do, as well as all the suppliers of all the parts he needs for his business. So he is struggling. In addition to that, his wife, she's in prison and has been there for a while. He gets to see her occasionally, but she's there in prison because she opposed physically some eco warriors who attacked her when she was at work in her business, which was oil trading. And that's seen as such a sinful occupation. The culture's turned against her and she is in prison for that. Then there's his daughter, who admires him secretly, but won't admit it to him or to anybody else because she is so wedded to the ideas of Ecoism through her school, through her friends, that she daren't turn against them, so she turns against him. And finally, there's his brother. His brother is the leader of the Ecoist Party, and he is so embedded, he has the ideas so embedded in his mind of the planet being the primary value, that he promotes sacrificing everything that we've got in order to reduce carbon to net zero and all the other things that he claims are bad, even if it means the end of industrial civilization.
Wow. Okay. Well, you use the term ecoism there. Can you tell us a little bit about what you mean by this term?
Yes, so I've used it to differentiate it from environmentalism because there are cases where, for example, this fire could be causing harm, physical harm to neighbours. It actually isn't because of where we are, and therefore there would be a good reason to control the environment in which men live. And the priority there is, well, what makes the planet habitable? What's good for human life? And human life is enhanced, as you alluded to earlier, by the ability to do things cheaply, to move medicines around the world, to move ourselves around the world, to move resources around the world, to light our homes. I mean, the list is endless of what fossil fuels do for us. Whereas ecoism inverts the value hierarchy. In an ecoist hierarchy, the planet comes first and the people come far second. So if the people are harming the planet, which really boils down to changing it in any way, any kind of interference is the way they would put it, with nature, then it has to be stopped because the primary value is the planet.
Okay, now these days most people would argue that carbon dioxide is a dangerous greenhouse gas and that we have to make sacrifices to reduce it in order to, protect our future generations. What would be your answer to that?
Well, the book is about how people live under the ecoist regime. It's not a book about science, but I'll refer to a couple of scientific facts. Some of you have already alluded to before in the introduction. But people should remember CO2 is a building block of life. Plants rely on CO2 in order to live. If there was no CO2, there would be no plants. And as you increase it, plant growth increases. If there were no plants, there would be no animals. And if there were no animals, there would be no us. We are animals. In other words, if you got rid of CO2, if there was really zero carbon, then there would be no life on Earth whatsoever. So people who think that they're green and they're helping the planet, well, they might be helping a lifeless planet, but they're not helping a planet that's got life on it if they claim that getting rid of CO2 or reducing it is a good. And secondly, it's very easy to look at the prehistoric record of CO2 and discover that it was enormously higher as a percentage of the gas in the atmosphere than it is now. And yet, species thrived. The dinosaurs thrived, and of course, huge numbers of species have evolved since then, including us. If they had been poisoned, or the planet had gone out of control by climate catastrophe because of high CO2, it would have happened by now and we wouldn't be here. But we are.
Sure, yeah. So these are the reasons why the so-called ecoists are demanding so many restrictions and prohibitions on human life today. What other kinds of restrictions and so on are people advocating in your novel and, of course, in the real world?
Yes, CO2 is the basis of it, but of course you've got giving up plastic, you've got giving up the petrol car, you've got the gas boilers. Really, when you start to look at the list, there's foreign holidays. When you look at the list, it is broader, like I said, than the CO2 issue. It's anything that human beings do which benefits them. And that really is the clue to the underlying theory of ecoism. If you put the planet on top and the people underneath, and anything the people do to the planet is therefore wrong, they can't survive. Human beings need to exploit the planet, and I use that word deliberately, like any other living being. They need to exploit the resources around them in order to live. And I don't mean just live on a drip feed like in the Matrix. I'm talking about flourishing. I'm talking about achieving the things we want in our lives, not having small footprints, which is what people always talk about. Let's have big footprints.
So this sort of leads on to the next. So obviously these restrictions dominate everything these days, but can you give us a hint as to what the alternative is? I mean, your work is obviously very critical of the environmental movement, and rightly so. What is the positive picture? What is the alternative?
Well, without giving too much away, because I do want people to buy the book, of course, but to entice them, the alternative really is to question the fundamental reason and theory behind ecoism, which is self-sacrifice. As I said before, all the values that we enjoy and prosper by as a result of industrial civilization, they're all under attack. And we're meant to sacrifice them. We're meant to give them up in order to achieve the goal. And giving up, even when it has no benefit, which can clearly be shown in an awful lot of cases, reducing CO2 actually makes no difference. It's the giving up, it's the sacrifice in itself, which is the problem.
Yes.
And that's what is the official definition of altruism.
That's right. So presumably this is something that you're basing very firmly on Ayn Rand's philosophy of objectivism.
Yes, that was a key element of obviously her ethics, that altruism was wrong and that egoism was good, which is another reason I coined the term ecoism, just to make a very clear comparison between ecoism and egoism.
Egoism, yeah, sure.
And just to speak a bit more about Ayn Rand and the relevance of philosophy, she predicted a lot of the things that we're seeing now happening because of egoism back in the 1960s.
That's
because
very true.
she saw the trend happening, she saw the ideas in the universities and the schools.
Yes.
She saw the irrationality of them.
Yeah, I believe she even spoke of carbon dioxide back in the 60s,
She did.
long before anybody
She
else
did.
was discussing it. Yeah, so she saw this coming.
So that's a long time ago, and so I hope people will enjoy the novel as a political thriller, but also take away something about the power of ideas, particularly philosophical ideas, and not just dismiss them. If they want to see what's going to happen, to see what the future could be, which they can change, they need to understand the power of ideas.
Well, that's, of course, very much the focus of this channel, to explore those ideas in terms of Ayn Rand's objectivist philosophy. But just before we wrap up today, could you tell us a little about what you are currently working on?
Sure. So my next project is a non-fiction book called The Proper Purpose of Government. Again, it draws a lot on the ideas of Ayn Rand, but I've written it because during the government responses to the pandemic, namely lockdowns and other restrictions on our freedom, it was apparent to me that government has basically gone off the rails in this country and around the world. There needs to be a complete step back to see what is the proper purpose of government. Is it that it should step in and limit us in extreme ways, such as not even be able to leave our house, even if we are healthy people, that they should have the right to do that? Is it able to, issue a budget one day and affect millions of lives, the next day? Is that the sort of power government should have? And if it isn't, well, what is the power that it should have? Because it needs some. I think that question needs answering, and that's what the book will aim to do.
No, absolutely, it does. Yes. Well, I'd like to wholeheartedly recommend this book to anyone who enjoys a really thumping good read that more closely reflects real life than many people would care to admit. And I'd like to just close by warmly thanking my guest, Richard G. Brooke, author of Green with Envy, for being with us today. The novel is available on Amazon for anyone who'd like to buy it. So please, folks, subscribe to our channel, share us, like us, follow us, and get in touch with us. We're always happy to hear from you. help us to spread the right ideas. Good logic, stay well, stay safe, stay free.